the prize cards here. Nothing terrible prize for either player. So we are getting ready here to get rolling in our asymmetrical top cut. There's a fist bump. There are your basic Pokemon. And we are rolling with our asymmetrical top cut here in the Seville Special Championships. And Victor has that attracting customers Tatsugiri in the active and is going to go and use a Buddy Poffin to go and search a couple of basics. While they do that, why don't you tell us a bit about this Charizard deck?
Yes, what's so awesome about Charizard is that you're having a 330 HP stage 2 Pokemon. Early game, not doing as much damage, 180, but for every single time that your opponent takes a prize card, that attack raises up by 30. So after one prize, 210, and etc. What Victor tries to establish is Charizard, pitch out to search cards every single turn, much like we've seen Ethan doing with his Flackies, and also using Dusknoll to do some prize card manipulation, forcing Nina to take prize cards, making Charizard stronger, but also putting some damage on the opposing board.
There's only a 2-1-1 line of Dusknoll in the deck, and there's things like that that Nina will know about. She will know, hang on a second, if I can just deal with, like, if a Dusknoll comes up and I can KO it, that's it for the entire game. That's the only one I've got to worry about. Things like that are important to keep in mind. Look for the small counts. Look for the important cards. They're attracting customers. Look at the top 6. Find a supporter or whiff and don't find any supporters. Not ideal. That's the you had one job, Tatsugiri.
It seems like Tatsugiri is kind of fake in these early game stages. Although Victor's going first, we'll have another chance at Tatsugiri next turn. I did see a Lily in his hand, so currently it's going all right. But going over to Nina's turn with this Grimsnarl deck. We've seen a bit of Grimsnarl this weekend. One of the top decks in this phase 2 cut with 12%. Not bad, terrible pricing. Although 2 Lily's determination in prices, not too great when you're trying to play that as your continued supporter in the early game. Although starting off, Pokepad for that second buddy, which we typically only see one of in Grimsnarl decks.
It is interesting they play a second. So, this Marnie's Grimsnarl deck, it is all about spreading damage. We've got Frostlass that puts damage counters on all Pokemon with abilities during Pokemon checkup. We have got ourselves Monkey Dory that moves damage from your Pokemon to your opponents, and we've got Marnie's Grimsnarl that does 180 to the active and 30 to the bench. Marnie's Grimsnarl, it's worth noting, also gets energy to itself, or any Marnie's Pokemon, when you evolve into it, which means your attachments for the turn can just go on to your Monkey Dory, and this is a deck very much like some of the other Frostlass decks we've seen this weekend. It is all about spreading damage and setting up these big turns for multiple prize cards. The big difference here is that you've got a Grimsnarl with huge HP that can just hit 180 to the active. That is how it works. So here we see a Professor's Research getting 7 new cards. We want some more basics.
We do see a secret box in the hand of Nina there, so that getting those basics is not going to be an issue whatsoever. Can be finding pieces like Artisan off this secret box, more Buddy Poffin, or just Pokepad, as we've seen a great inclusion from Ascended Heroes helping out these Grimsnarl decks. We haven't seen much of Grimsnarl before Ascended Heroes, but Pokepad boosting that consistency.
And I do want to spare a fall for our co-caster Mike Ellis. He's had 2 top 16s with Grimsnarl at regional level events this season already, and missing the event where Marnie's Grimsnarl is probably best positioned in the entire format. But here we do see the secret box getting resolved. You have to discard 3 cards, but you can get a supporter, Lily's Determination, a stadium, Spikemouth Gym, an item card, Pokepad, and if you want to get a Pokemon tool, that's a Bravery Charm, get one of those as well. Basically, you get one of every type of trainer, and you get to cherry pick the specific one that you want.
One thing I really do like about Nina's deck is that we're playing max consistency. We're playing 4 Professor's Research, 4 Iono, 4 Lily, 4 Pokepad. You get to draw cards. Although she has made the decision to let go of tools like TM Devolution, which we've seen in past rounds being so potent against these evolution decks, which typically would mean in this case that Nina actually need to fulfill these knockouts instead of devolving Pokemon.
Absolutely, but Marnie's Grimsnarl will hopefully help with that. While we're talking consistency, that Spikemouth Gym Stadium lets you search for a Marnie's Pokemon once during your turn. Firstly, it's great for you, but unless you're playing a mirror match, it's just a blank stadium for your opponent. They are going to get nothing. And we're actually starting off with Victor here, straight into Lily's Determination. It's a shuffle draw 6. But if you've got exactly 6 prize cards remaining, as Victor has, it's a shuffle draw 8. Haven't used Tatsugiri yet, so hopefully we can now start to build. But of course, what did Badoo do last turn?
Oh, Itchy Pawn. Wait, we can't even use Red Candy into pitch out. So what Victor's trying to go for is one of these two TM evolution that they're running in their deck. We get one and we get an energy as well, so we can actually bypass Itchy Pawn in terms of getting our evolutions on the board. Yes, we may not be able to do that, but we also get Duskull, so we can do TM evolution on something like the Pidgey into Pidgeotto, which they're running, and the Duskull if we want to. Maybe even going for double Charmeleon in place since they're rocking two of them in the list.
I love this. This is really good. This is exactly what you want, because you're right. You turn off Rare Candy. That is a big thing that Badoo's done. But the good news is you've got TM Evolution. Now, we searched out the boss's order to attract customers. We haven't played it. We attach an energy and a TM Evolution to Tatsugiri, and then we get to evolve two Pokemon. And, I mean, anything on the board is there. Obviously, Pidgeotto is going to be one of them, so you can hopefully go into Pidgeot next turn. And it looks like it is that second Charmeleon that we're going to be going for. So a decent little setup, and then passing back to Nina, who's got some evolution plans of her own.
Yeah, we do see that Frost Ice coming into play immediately. It's going to be very good. Of course, can deal damage to Tatsugiri. When the Charmeleons evolve, Charizard has an ability. When Pidgeotto evolves into Pidgeot, also has an ability. And that's going to be very important for Nina to try and push these damage counters further and further. Obviously, as well, putting damage counters on her own Monkey Dories to be able to accelerate more damage onto Victor's board. And then finally, at some point, grabbing these knockouts, potentially even multi-prize knockouts.
Well, we're seeing Spikemuth Gym absolutely pulling its weight here, going and getting that Marnie's Morgrim coming out to evolve one of those Marnie's Impidimp. And that means that you're already up to the stage one. We've got a Frostlass already. We see an energy onto Monkey Dory. You don't need to worry about getting energy onto the Marnie's Pokemon. When you get into Grimsnarl, that will get the energy. For now, just go ahead and put them onto Monkey Dory. Here's that Pokepad you said about. It's Monkey Dory number 3. If only there was bench space.
You know what, Ross? There will be bench space at some point. At some point, Nina will be without the Budew in play. If there's going to be a Charizard without a boss's orders potentially, that will get knocked out. But what Victor maybe be looking at, like previous rounds, is getting rid of that Frost Ice on the bench. We did see Tatsugiri get the boss's orders last turn. If Victor can get one of his two Charizards into play, it could potentially be evolve for the Charizard, boss up that Frostlass to get that off the field.
Charizard, interestingly enough, has a very similar ability to Marnie's Grimsnarl. Also goes and attaches energy when you evolve up into the stage 2. So Lily's Determination grabbed off Tatsugiri's Attract Customers. We've got an energy which is going to be going down onto the Charmeleon. And then we play Lily. And here's the thing, you don't need to attach that energy. You can get the energy when you evolve up, but this just means one fewer card in your deck, which means you're more likely to draw into something like that Charizard.
Exactly. Fitting is winning. Fitting is the game of everything here. And unfortunately for Victor, did not get it, although Victor can still get the knock on this Budew with the Charmeleon with a steady fire breathing, dealing 40, double for the weakness, 80. Not that you need the 80 because this Budew measly has a 30 HP. Although, it seems like you're doing Nina a favor here when you're knocking out the Budew with that third Monkey Dory being ready in their hand.
And it is almost like you search out that third Monkey Dory and you say to your opponent, go ahead, knock out my Badoo, make my day. Now, interestingly enough, we see the second Duskull coming down. Nina knows that only one of them can possibly evolve without the use of something like a Night Stretcher, which she also knows is not in the deck. There is Super Rod, though.
I do really like what Victor's done here. Could have gone under aggression and promoted this Charmeleon. Recognizes, wait, Nina did search out a Monkey Dory. If I just knocked out a Budew, we would make space for even more and further accelerating the Frostlass damage. And thereby, yes, you're not getting that prize card, but you're setting up your board more, and we're potentially being able to double Duskull in one turn, and further along the way, be able to play into Briar. It's going to be a fantastic setup for Victor if we can getting these ghosts further accelerated into play.
That Briar is as a supporter card. If your opponent has exactly 2 prize cards remaining, you take a KO of a Terra Pokemon, you take an extra prize. It's very important. We see the first Monkey Dory moving damage over to a Duskull. We're about to see the second Monkey Dory being activated here. You can move 2 damage from the Monkey Dory anywhere on Victor's side of the board. The question is, where are we going to move it? It doesn't seem to be obvious right now. Does seem like it's going to go on to the other Duskull.
I do like the spread of it here. Going for Itchy Paw, and again, being able to do 20 with Frostlass in combination. But putting 20 on each Duskull means that Monkey Dory and Monkey Dory again with 2 damage counters each will be able to knock out one of these, right? Since there's an Ichipon going, since there's only 1 Dusclops in Victor's deck, if Victor decides to just evolve one of them, the other one would still be in range of double Monkey Dory.
I like that indeed, and this is one of the things we see. Open deck lists are absolutely huge. You get to make these plays knowing that they kind of have to work, and that is wonderful. Only one of them can evolve until one essentially comes in and goes away. Secret Box gets drawn off that Lily's Determination here, which would be great if...
You weren't item locked.
Yeah, the item lock does really make Secret Box a lot worse of a card. But here we see the evolution up into Charizard, and now we can go and attach up to 3 basic fire from our deck to our Pokemon.
Yeah, one thing I'm really scared of for Victor's side here is that since the Lily's been played, there's no way to gust this Budew around, which may be forcing the question from Victor, do you still want to take this knock at this turn? Maybe it's too late otherwise, right? And we're looking at these Duscles. These are the key to the matchup. This is the way where you can price raise more efficiently than Nina can and be faster than Nina can if you can get them up and running, though.
That is the big if. It is worth noting Tatsugiri is going to be knocked out going into Nina's turn by virtue of that Frostlass. Unless the Frostlass itself gets KO'd, that Tatsugiri will be knocked out going into Nina's turn from that Frostlass's ability. But here we get a boss's orders just being searched off Tatsugiri. It's not been played yet. Can't be. Lily's Determination has been. We retreat into Charizard, and we take 1 prize off of Budew, and then we're going to give up a prize for our Tatsugiri.
Yeah, and dealing even more damage here. Tatsugiri still needs to take the 10 damage from the knockout. Charizard needs to take 10 damage, as it also does have that Infernal Rain ability. And yeah, finally get to see our first prize card with Charizard taken this weekend on that Budew.
It looks like we might see our first Marnie's Grimsnarl of this game. We see a Morgrim coming down onto the bench. We're not at Grimsnarl yet, and we don't have Smikemuff in play right now, so it's not quite so easy. Nina using Artisan, going to go and search out a Pokemon. It's going to be that 3rd Monkey Dory, and you don't need to put any energy anywhere, you know, from your hand. So Nina could now have 3 Monkey Dory, all with energy on. She can double Monkey Dory to go and KO one of those Duskull if she wishes, or she could potentially move 2 to each and then set up for maybe a double KO next turn, forcing Victor to have to go and evolve next turn to save that double KO.
That would be super great if we could still be item locking Victor. When we can't do that, it means that Victor's availability of going potentially Dusclops plus Dusknoir or double Dusknoir, double Rakendial, that's very hefty to do, is there. With the Secret Box in hand, if Nina doesn't KO at least one of these Duskulls, we may be seeing a sweep scenario where we can go ahead and say, all right, I'll just Dusknoir your Morgrim on the bench, take that out, and then I'll go recover that Dusknoir with the Night Stretcher, Rakendi Dusknoir again, put it on the active potentially Grimsnarl if Nina gets the evolution, and then go Charizard for a knockout. And then cleaning Nina's board of attackers, essentially. And that's where Nina really has to be heads up in trying to get rid of these Duskulls as soon as they hit the field. And that's why you needed to keep the item log on for a bit more to make sure that these ghosts don't get to be a problem for you.
Absolutely. Very well explained indeed. So, we are going to getting a Monkey Dory number 4. Nina does play the full suite of 4. No bench space for the 4th one, but that's all right for the minute. Here comes Marnie's Grimsnarl. Now you get to go and search for energy. Just going to get 2, it looks like, for that Marnie's Grimsnarl in the active. You don't need any more energy. And if you evolve into another Marnie's Grimsnarl, you can get the energy when you do the evolution. Speaking of which, we are actually using Spikemuff here, but we're searching out an Impidimp.
And then my eye spies a little bit. Nina sitting and shuffling with a very tiny deck. I saw 7 cards left in deck already. And that's what happens when you're playing 4 Research, 4 Lily, 4 Iono. You're getting through your deck so fast. And when Marnie's Grimsnarl essentially can search up to 5 Darkness Energies out of your deck, it goes really fast. So typically here, of course, there's going to be recovery cards like Super Odd, like Night Stretcher to keep the resources alive in this game. It's going to be what Nina has left now. And it's not a lot. So Nina has to be speeding up this game massively. What I really do like about this is that you could go and say, all right, we're going to stock up this Pidgeotto. Yes, we're potentially not getting a knockout this turn. We're not, since we're putting 30 on Pidgeotto, but we're pressuring Victor to get out of Pidgeot this turn. Otherwise, that Pidgeotto is going to fall to something like an Adurna Brain.
Absolutely it is. So, a lot of damage going down on the Charizard, putting that up for a KO next turn. And with Monkey Dory, each take 1 damage counter, has not taken out those Dust Skull on the bench, has left them for later.
Ross, Victor's hand looks awesome here. We're looking at Secret Box, Ultra Ball for Pidgeot. We have Dusknoir in hand. There is the possibility to pull off the double Dusknoir Dream this turn, taking out the Morgrem on the bench and putting more damage onto the active Grimsnarl, being able, as said, to sweep the entire attacking force of Nina's board.
Wow, we're going to need a Dusknoir, we're going to need a Night Stretcher, we're going to need 2 rare candy. Night Stretcher won't do it. It's going to have to be a Super Rod and then a Search. There's no Night Stretcher in the deck here in this Charizard list, unless I'm missing something here, Jesper.
No, you're indeed
that
correct.
Is going to make it a little bit more awkward, but you're right, it is absolutely there. And the other thing is, Charizard is currently doing 210 because Nina's taken 1 prize. But if you use a Dusknoir, then Nina's taken 2 prizes, you're doing 240. If you use a second Dusknoir, then all of a sudden Charizard's doing 270. That is a big difference from where we were before.
And it actually makes a difference, so you don't need double Dusknoir to pull this off. You actually, well, measly only need Dusclops on the active Grimsnarl, and then Dusknoir in the bench Morgrem. With that damage in play, those 270 would be ending up getting the knockout onto the Grimsnarl and making this sweep a little easier than first perceived.
And it's actually really funny. It's at 10 damage. That's, oh no, it doesn't matter. It's going to get it anyway. It doesn't matter. Well, we are flipping here. We are getting ahead of the, is that Mesagosa?
Yes.
Of the Mesagosa. We are getting the heads. That goes to searches for a Pokemon. That's a pretty big deal. What have you seen, Jesper?
It is all there in deck. Mesagosa heads can get either Dusclops or Pidgeot. Pidgeot could be able to search for one of the key options. We're also looking ahead with Rare Candy. Things are going fast here for Victor now. Can be able to Rare Candy Dusknoir, get rid of the Morgrem on the bench, go in and say Dusclops in the active and get both of them gone. Rare Candy Dusknoir coming down here also sits with Ultra Ball. It is just more riches going with Dusknoir on the bench, Morgrem. All right, Victor, are we going to see the Dusclops on the active Grimsnarl as well?
All we need is Dusclops, and there's a rare cat, there's an Ultra Ball in hand that can search it out. Ultra Ball 2 cards and maths works like this. You do 50 to the active using Dusclops. Charizard, you then look and you say, oh, my opponent's taken 3 prize cards. That means I do 180 plus 90. That's 270 plus the 50 from Dusclops is 220. The 10 damage on Marnie's Grimsnarl is actually irrelevant here. You are doing 220 between this. This will work, and it's not just taking the prizes. The prizes don't actually matter that much here. What you're doing is cutting your opponent off from every single attacker on their board.
And it means Nina would need to find back these Marnie's Impidimp. Yes, Nina may be running free, but if you're only benching 1, Pidgeot can go ahead and say, well, quick search for a boss. So it means that Nina essentially would need to bench 2 of them. Yes, it's a very thin deck Nina sits out right now, and it's going to be difficult to dig for these pieces without potentially decking out as well.
Well, we are seeing an Ino come down, and this is what's super annoying for Nina. She'd only taken 1 prize. Victor forced her to take 2, and is now playing an Ino to put her down to a 3-card hand because she's only got 3 prize cards remaining. Does draw an Ino, so that is at least something that can draw out of it. But we are about to see Pidgeot using Quick Search. Yes, Victor put this all together without even using Quick Search, and this is, I mean, you call it like a bonus search? Doesn't actually need anything here this turn, so he can go and get whatever he wants.
What this requires from Victor is to have some foresight into saying, all right, I can get this quick search for free. There's nothing I need to be searching right now, which means for Victor's case, it's about figuring out what would I like for next turn or the turn thereafter. How do I close out this game from here? It's going to go down to 2 prizes after knocking out this Marnie's Grimsnarl. Victor cannot bench 1 Duskull by itself only because otherwise triple Adrenaline can take that out.
Yep.
So it would mean that even with the Super Rod, you would need something like a Buddy Poffin on top.
I think I really love what's going on with Victor here, because if that Charizard in the active goes down, you've got a second Charizard rolling, and you just need to attack twice. 2 turns in a row, you attack, you win the game. And right now, there is no TM devolution. We've already pointed that out. So there's no big damage coming. There's, you know, some little pings from Frostlass and some extra pings from Monkey Dory, but that's not enough to take 2 KOs in the next turn or 2.
Exactly, and with Nina sitting on 3 prizes left, even TM Devolution, if that was to happen here, would only take the knockout on the active Charizard and not even the bench Pidgeot unless you used one of your Adrenaline Brains there. But you would not, even with the full amount of Adrenaline Brains onto that second Charizard on the bench, be able to get the knockout because that's evolved from a Charmeleon.
Yep. not going to be going ideally. Now we do, oh, and that seems to be picking up cards. I think that means that Victor has taken game number 1. Nina realizes there is no way back after all of your Marnie's Pokemon have been KO'd. You have no more attackers. Victor takes game 1 here in the asymmetrical top cut at Seville Regional Championships.
And an awesome heads-up play here for Victor going into this game, starting off with that Tatsugiri. Massive importance in terms of consistency. Fails to first attract customers. Don't worry about it. We do get off Lily evolution, mist energy, to be able to evolve into Pidgeotto and Charmeleon. And from there on, after establishing these stage 1 Pokemon, gets everything needed. Knocks out Buddy for first prize. Yes, Nina gets the Grimsnarl going, but this awesome turn, Rare Candy into Dusknoir, being able to use that on the benched Morgrim, and thereafter doing Dusclops on the active Grimsnarl, and then finishing it off with the Burning Darkness.
It was absolutely beautiful. It was a double KO on both the Marnie's Pokemon. Essentially, all the attackers. That was what did it here, getting those KOs. It was a thing of absolute beauty, and that was where they decided to pick up the dice. So it's a bit weird when they're in the middle of a turn and people just start picking up their cards, but you look at that board state, you look what was going on, and it was pretty obvious. Victor was just in too good of a position. And like I say, it wasn't that Nina didn't have anything. She still had Monkey Dory and Frostlass. The problem was, that was incremental damage that builds up over a few turns, and she didn't have a few turns. And yes, Victor was going to win in 2 attacks.
Yeah, Nina could have swung in with Block Moon or Saloon and taken knockout, but that would have been that second Charizard to be able to pick up that Block Moon or Saloon on the return. So Nina was left out of options. No attackers left. Victor going first again. Starting with Body Puffin again and Secret Box, everything you could wish for.
Yes, we're rolling here in game 2 of Asymmetrical Top Cut, and that is a pretty nice hand we are looking at. Going to get whatever you want. Does seem to be going first, so there goes your Secret Box, and you discard 3 cards from your hand, and you grab yourself an item, and a tool, and a stadium, and a supporter. Oh, if you're dropping a Buddy Poffin with a Secret Box, that tells you how good your hand is.
And it might be a bit of a sign that your hand might be too good. You'd Secret Box, discard a supporter. All right, you get one. You just got a Buddy Puffin. Well, we're just going to go ahead and get another one. For simply here, we're looking at Lily, Buddy Puffin, everything we need to be setting up this game for Victor's side. Going ahead and taking a little bit of a prize check here. Supporter-wise, could also be getting something like Arven again, although Buddy Puffin, Lily, look at Team Evolution for next turn as well.
Oh, yeah.
So we're getting everything that we wish for. And if you're getting Team Evolution off the Secret Box, might as well just go ahead and roll with a Lily, where you're pretty likely to draw an energy off it as well.
You absolutely are. Artisan, obviously the stadium of choice, because that's going to go and get you a basic. And essentially here, you're just set up. You get 3 basics between your Artisan and your Buddy Puffin. And then next turn, you've got TM Evolution ready to go. And you've got Lily ready to go and get yourself 8 cards. And you've basically guaranteed that you're going to have a fast start. Yes, there are I&O in Nina's hand that she could play to try and disrupt Victor. But that is not really what you want to do. You want to be playing something like Lily or Professor's Research to get more cards. So yeah, here we see the energy going on to that active Klefki, just basically leaving it there for next turn. Klefki, for what it's worth, does say basic Pokemon in play have no abilities. It's not really relevant for either player, so it's there, but it's not really doing anything in this matchup.
Is there mostly with these Psyducks that have been running around all the plays with these Absol decks? Although with Nina, the only thing it blocks is Monkey Dory. But Klefki is going to take damage from Frostlass. It's going to end up being quite a mood point here, not being super efficient.
In a couple of turns, maybe it would be relevant. Right now, no.
No. And if you want to stick a Klefki in the active and passing over to Nina, it's not quite good either because it soaks damage from Frostlass, as well as Nina could potentially be using something like Counter Catcher Kit around it. Yes, you can joust off something like this Air Balloon here, but unless it's extreme circumstances, Ross, I don't think we'll be seeing that.
Nope. I think right here, it's just kind of, it's going to be there to use TM Evolution next turn. Now, good news is there's an Air Balloon on the active Impidimp. That frees up to get an energy attachment turn 1 on that Monkey Dory because, you know, spoiler alert, that Klefki is not staying in the active for very long here. So we're searching with a Nest Ball to go and get another basic. Looks like Nina is eyeing up a second Monkey Dory here. So go and pop that on the bench and then get rolling with that.
Yeah, more Monkey Dory, more goodness off that, more adrenaline rating is fantastic. we do see Nina setting up the same way as game one, which leads me to think may be afraid of the same things happening again, because it looks like a mirrored setup from game one if we're putting them side by side. Although with this Buddy, it is going to be more difficult. And what I really like from Victor here is actually keeping back that Artisan in hand to make sure that Nina doesn't have more ease of setting up herself.
I really like that. It's a heads-up play. I'm also noticing here, right now, we are getting that Badoo coming straight back into the active. We mentioned this in game one, but it bears repeating. If it wasn't for the Badoo, then Victor could go rare candy, pit shot, quick search, yay! That is not something you want to give your opponent access to, so you had to go Badoo. We see a Charmander hitting the bench. We see TM Evolution. Now it's time to get Artisan, because we're going to play Lily's Determination. And it's quite nice. You're not using Artisan now. Play Lily's Determination, see the 8 cards, and then decide which basic you want to get off of Artisan.
And if you're a Charizard player, what Victor is doing here is what you need to be looking at. This is exactly how you want to be starting your game. As soon as you can, TM Evolution, get your stage 1s into play. You don't really care about Ichipon here. And if you can draw something just like one Duskull off this, you can Artisan for a second, double Charmeleon, don't even need Evolution on that. So when you're going to use Artisan, you can get Duskull. You can just go, well, I'll TM Evolution my Pidgey and my Duskull. So you have more ease of getting everything you want. You can even go, no, Team Evolution Star never works. So yeah, disregard that.
And this just backs up not using Artisan. You play it, and then you Lily. Because right now, you look at your hand, you look at the board, and you really want a Duskull. Brilliant. Search it with the Artisan. Had you gone and searched out another Charmander or whatever, then you potentially miss that opportunity. So we've already got a Charmeleon evolved. TM Evolution is going to get a Dusclops. It's going to get a Pidgeotto. And essentially, Victor here has 3 different stage 2 lines, all of which are ready to just evolve manually next turn into the stage 2s.
You know what? Spoiler alert here for you, Ross. I saw Pidgeot in that hand of Victor's as well. Is going to be able to use Quick Search to get whatever they like next turn.
Well, we see Treble Monkey Dory from Nina setting up, hopefully, that Frostlass as well. Spikemuth comes down. That is going to go and search for a Morgrem. Now, there is one rare candy in Nina's deck. She's only playing the one, but that does give that possibility for burst potential. The problem is she's kind of setting herself up like in game one. There's only one Impidimp on the board, a Morgrem as it is now, which means Victor has the possibility next turn of potentially KOing it, and you wouldn't even need any kind of gusting. You could just use Dusknoir if it evolves up, which you can get with a Pidgeot. We've already talked about that, and that means that Nina will again have no big attacker.
And here we're going out to Victor's side. Drawing Mesa goes off a turn. Doesn't even need to play that. Goes into Charmeleon. Pidgeot in hand as well. Get into play. There's even a Charizard. She can even save this Dusclops by going Quick Search for Boss's Orders onto that Morgrem and then setting the pace for the entirety of the game. Victor's getting such a great head start in this game too.
And what I love about this is now Nina can only play one Impidimp per turn, so you can essentially gust and KO it this turn, and then if Nina benches one, you can, if you've got it, gust it. If you don't, Dusknoir it, and essentially just play keep away. Nina plays one every turn, you KO it every turn, and Nina's playing this whole game with just Frostlass, Monkey Dory, and no TM Devolution. This is a phenomenal start from Victor. We're going to see the Quick Search, and that is, well, I mean, we're going to get some gusting here. That could be a fun thing to do. We are.
Boss going to the top of the deck there, Ross, and yeah, undoubtedly, Morgrem is going to go down if that boss is being played, which, no doubt.
Oh, yeah, that
will
Morgrem
happen.
is
That's
done.
going to be that Morgrem going away from the board.
Yeah, sorry, Morgrem. This is not going to end well for you. Manual retreat of the Klefki, popping a Charizard into the active, Boss's Orders onto the Morgrem, and then you're only doing 180. Nobody cares. That is easily enough to get a KO on the Morgrem. And now what you're doing beautifully is essentially leaving Nina with one spare bench spot every single turn, and that is a very difficult way to play the game indeed. So what has she got here, Jesper?
If I have to be truthful, Ross, not a lot here. When you're thinking about a position where there's a Dusclops on the field, you're stretching for one Impidimp. You can't get more bench spaces like you can with decks that play Area 0, and it just gets more and more difficult from this way out. Victor has not priced any Dusknoir, which means that even if you want to play Lily for a turn, that's always an option to be able to take out. But there's not even a singular Frostlass in play yet. You haven't been able to put any damage counters onto Victor's board other than the Ichipon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only real downside I'm seeing with Victor here is that Counter Catcher isn't going to be live because you're rushing too far ahead in prizes. That is the worst thing I can say about Victor's setup right now.
That isn't too bad. As long as you're ahead, right, Ross, you're getting closer and closer to the victory. Do you see 2 bosses orders in that list, although that second bosses orders is still in the prize cards. So if we want to be hunting down that Impidimp, would need to be Dusknoir, unless there comes a situation where Victor uses Dusclops on the active Budew and Nina promotes the Impidimp, but I doubt that will happen.
I don't think that is going to happen, unfortunately. But, you know, there's only 2 bosses orders in the list, so you haven't got Gusting for ages. There's a couple Counter Catcher that, like we said, aren't probably going to be very relevant, but it doesn't really matter. You can use Dusknoir or you can use Gusting. The name of the game here, now we see Lily's Determination being played, so you've either got to let that Impidimp sit, or you've got to KO it with the Dusknoir when it comes out in a moment. Of course, there is a fun thing you can do. Just take out the Budew, let Nina evolve into a Morgrem, and then KO it. But you would get punished by a rare candy.
Yes, we will be kind of punished by that one rare candy. And Victor can kind of make this calculated decision of, all right, I know Nina only plays one singular rare candy. What if I just knock out the Budew and see what happens, right? If Nina goes Marnie's Grimsnarl, we can still go Dusknoir plus Charizard for the knockout.
We've had a head on that Mesagosa. What are we searching for? It is Dusknoir. We were wondering whether this was going to be the play. Seems like Dusknoir to take out the bench Impidimp. I mean, I would trade that in a heartbeat. You don't really get ahead in the prize race. You're trading one prize for one, but you're giving up a tech Pokemon you don't need and taking out your opponent's only route to a viable attacker. Oh, that's a trade I'd make every day of the week there, Jesper.
Oh, that is a good deal, Ross. Indeed it is. And you're looking at Victor's setup here, has everything we need, taken 2 prizes already, going down to 3 prizes left. Nina's going to be benching an Impidimp, then Victor's going to go down to at least 2 prizes, and then from there on out, it's going to get easy and easier for Victor when Nina gets to take prize cards, other than donated prize cards from Dusknoir. Benching that extra Duskull, and next turn, Nina's not going to be able to take out that Duskull, which opens the line for Super Odd Dusknoir plus Red Candy again to be taken out a potential Impidimp or that Frostlass if it becomes online from the Snow Run.
And there's so much going right for Victor in this game. You've not had to really use Rare Candy very much here, so you've got some of them available. You just hit heads off Mesagosa to go and get your Dusknoir, so you didn't need to use Quick Search for that. That gave you an extra Quick Search for something else. Nina right now is using Pokepad. She's going to go and grab her Frostlass, but it's worth noting, while Victor's had this redonkulous start to the game, Nina's not even been able to evolve up into a Frostlass yet. She's done very, very little here.
And I need to be stressing here, Ross, there's no TM devolution in the deck. So even a convoluted way of saying, well, maybe we can do that. Well, we do see, we have to remember there's 2 Impidimps in the prize card, so it actually needs to be like Night Stretcher to get it back, going for a bit more of a Frostlass board, but still need to stretch. There's no team devolution, which means that when you have Frostlass, yes, it's great, but we're not going to be able to Frostlass 330 damage onto a Charizard. We're not going to be able to Frostlass 280 onto his Pidgeot before Victor has taken the remaining prize cards.
I'm getting deja vu here, unfortunately, because we've once again got a single Marnie's Impidimp hitting the bench here for Nina. Now, the good news is it becomes more difficult. There's only 1 boss's orders left, and actually that's prized. One's been played, one's been prized, so boss's orders isn't available here. So it would have to be, yeah, we're gusting up. We're using Counter Catcher to bring the Duskull into the active, playing an Iono. Actually, the only way to get that Impidimp this turn is Rare Candy Dusknoir.
But that's not going to happen if Ichiban comes live.
That's
again,
what I was going to follow up with.
Which was what I'm thinking the Monkey Door is going to go into.
I think that could be, and this would be a way to guarantee that Impidimp survives for a turn. The problem is, if it turns into a Morgrem, you can still Dusknoir it the following turn. So I'd be looking for a Dusclops this turn, if nothing else.
Yeah, but we can't even get the Dusclops back. Like, it's still hard to get the Dusclops, although it's not prized. So, with the Mesagosa, flips heads, all right. But we do, yeah, Quick Search is there. Cannot still remember if that Dusknoir, that was Raikkonen, right?
I can't remember if it was Rare Candied or not. We're 2 games in here. I'm just hoping Victor just moves his discard pile a little bit so we can see. But regardless, it's going to be more difficult. The thing is, when you're up a couple of prizes and you've got a much better setup, you feel a bit better. Here comes the Itchy Pollen. Victor still sitting pretty.
It has a Jet Energy in hand, so that Duskull is going to move regardless. first amount of freezing shot here in this game too. Maybe a tad too late, Ross. I do remember though, this Dusknoir was TM Evo'd into Dusclops, so it means that we cannot access any Dusclops this turn, although that's not going to be the issue. We can get to see the Jet Energy potentially. Gonna try the Mesa Ghost to see if we get a heads and could be able to thin out this deck even further.
It's a heads.
Not even needed it.
No, the only real thing to go for here is either a Charizard to evolve now or... yeah, we haven't even Dusknoir back into the deck, so it really has to be a Charizard. And
an awesome play we can make here is say, evolve it a Charizard, Infernal Rain, put one on Duskull, one on the Charizard. So that's fully loaded, and we can get to retreat the Duskull. Not even need to use that Jet Energy yet. Needing that potentially later if Countercatcher tries to stall the game even further.
We've seen one Countercatcher, Nina does play two, so yeah, there is still another one we need to be taking account of later on in the game. So that would be a fun play with Infernal Rain, and if you're Victor, this Itchy Pollen isn't really worrying you too much. Now, we do see the Charizard, that is confirmation. Are we going to see the evolution and the energy? You're far enough ahead here that the Itchy Pollen doesn't feel that bad, and you're still taking a prize every turn. Now, he's thinking about it. Here comes a Charizard. Infernal Rain is announced. You don't have to get any energy here because the deck is private information. However, we are looking at 2 energy, and I think you might be right here, Jesper. We're going to get 1 onto Charizard, who's already got 1. It only needs 1 to attack. And then, in theory, 1 onto the Duskull. You absolutely nailed it, Jesper. Now we can retreat that Duskull into a Charizard and take prize number 4.
And prize number 4, meaning 2 prizes left for Victor to get themselves into top 8. Nina has to do something right now to be able to do it. Although this Marty's Impidum staying on the board, meaning there's an opening for Rare Candy, even though it's an opening for Rare Candy, being able to go and say, well, we can attack with Marnie's Grimsnarl, put 30 on Duskull, and then use our Monkey Doors to take out the Duskull. So Duskull is very likely going to go down next turn, so we don't see an accelerated Dusknoir being able to take out the Marnie's Grimsnarl, although it will be the only Marnie's Grimsnarl in play. And then you can just hit it twice with Charizard for the last 2 prizes. So there is a really good way for Victor to win.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're down to 2 prize cards remaining and you're properly up and rolling in the game, you don't really need to worry very much at all about getting, well, about getting rid of it. Like, you can just 2-hit KO it. Because that Duskull, we know is not really going to last very long. What's going to happen is that Treble Monkey Dory is going to be able to take it out next turn and take away that plan. But your 2 prize cards remaining, your opponent's only taken 5. Just 2-hit KO the Grimsnarl. You will be fine. So...
and speaking of 2-hit KO on the Grimsnarl, just pull that boss's orders from prizes. So even if Nina goes Grimsnarl this turn, hits, takes a hit on the Grimsnarl, retreats it, which is going to be like, okay, I got my boss order finally.
And now all of this is assuming Nina hits her single Rare Candy and Marnie's Grimsnarl. Now, the good news is Marnie's Grimsnarl is in the deck. There's 2 in the deck, none in the prizes. But, oh, and actually, did I see that lone Rare Candy already in hand? Here comes Mesagosa, big flip. It is a heads here. And yes, the lone Rare Candy is in hand. So there's no question of if there will be a Marnie's Grimsnarl. We can see it coming. But is Victor far enough ahead that he can just double attack to KO?
I mean, Ross, I would reckon so, right? It's going to be difficult. You can get to take 1 prize on Duskull on the bench. You get to take 2 prize on Charizard with 2 attacks. But with the way that the game's drawn up right now, it doesn't look like you can take the full 5. You can get to take 3 pretty easily, or maybe even 4 with double attack and then Klefki, but your Grimsnarl would end up being knocked out on the way back. So actually needing something like double Frost Ice to push more damage, although it's still difficult when you don't even have all 3 Monkey energied up.
That is the problem. Only 1 Monkey does have the energy right now, so you can get a second energy on the Monkey. There is a chance here. I don't know if we can even KO the Duskull right now. Here comes Spike Muff, so that's going to search out the Marnie's Grimsnarl nice and easily. But the problem is you can only get that Duskull up to 5, which does open the door for Rare Candy, Dusknoir shenanigans, and a potential for Victor to end the game next turn with that last boss's orders, which has been liberated from the prizes, and a Dusknoir onto the bench. Could be game next turn for Victor. Regardless, strong position. We're not going into Marnie's Grimsnarl. We're going into Morgrim here. Did I miss C? I thought there was a Rare Candy in hand.
I thought there was, but we have to be looking at the deck and also be looking at the options of actually getting to Grimsnarl with the discard pile as well, right? But I would imagine here, Ross, if we don't go Marnie's Grimsnarl this turn,
we can now. We've already evolved up into Morgrim.
Exactly. Now it's just going to be too difficult for Nina to try and stall this game out. It has to be using gusting effects like counter catcher or alike to push out something else and hope that it's not going to work. But with there being pitch outs quick surge, it's going to be so easy to get these resources. And there was Marnie's Grimsnarl in hand, but I think your eye may have spied wrong, Ross, in terms of that lone red candy. It doesn't look like a red candy. It's I think it's a Professor's Research and a Lily in the hand.
And maybe I saw Snow Run, and I don't know. Something looked like it. No, I must have misseen. My apologies on that one. I thought there was a candy in hand. Turns out Nina did not have access to it. It's just a pass. Damage is going to tick up from the Frostlass, but this does actually open the door. It's a little bit of a combo, but if you can rare candy, if you can Super Rod the Dust Noir back, and then rare candy, Dust Noir, and oh, you don't even need gusting. You just need rare candy, Dust Noir after a Super Rod, and that will be the game.
There's an Ultra Ball in the hand here, but we need two pieces. We need Super Rod, candy, and a way to search back the Dust Noir when we've gotten that back into the deck. Is going to be able to grab that Super Rod off the deck. Need to spy a bit more. There's an Arven in hand, Ross, so we may even be seeing the game ending this turn. Super Rod for Dust Noir, Arven for candy, being able to use Dust Noir on any bench Pokemon, and then using Burning Darkness on deactive to take these last two prizes. Victor is teeing up for this right now.
This is what I said. With no Marnie's Grimsnarl there in the active, I mean, even with Marnie's Grimsnarl in the active, this would have been a play. But with no Marnie's Grimsnarl, you don't even need gusting anymore. It is literally just going to be search out and then rare candy. Here comes the Ultra Ball. And of course, I don't think we've used Quick Search yet. So we can just go and use Quick Search to get the rare candy. Have we used Quick Search? Ah, we've used Quick Search. Never mind. So we're getting rid of the Arven here. Are we going to have a way towards rare candy? We don't, just to be clear, we don't need it. Now, is there anything? Can Dusclops KO anything?
Ross, there was rare candy in the deck. Could have used Arven for rare candy. Just going to go with the boss here.
I don't mind this at all. Essentially, you're saying, look, I don't need to win this turn. I'm going to win next turn. But you still don't have an attack. And there's been no Grimsnarl this entire game so far. So it really does feel like all Victor needs to do is just go to next turn and either announce an attack or use Dust Noir. Either will do fine. And Nina is just looking here. She's picking up her dice. It looks like we are picking everything up. Victor Anderson is going to take this 2-0 and move on to the top 8 of the Seville Special Championship.